Unless you desire for your neighbor what you desire for yourself, you don't have faith. A man who goes to bed with his belly full while his neighbor is hungry, he isn't a Muslim.
The ink of a scholar is holier than the blood of a martyr. A man reading is handsome in the sight of God. So learn to read.
There are no different races in Islam. An Arab is not superior to a foreigner.
Peace be unto you all. We at the Ansarullah community present to you once again the true light. As the Prophet has said, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. The program presents you with the answers to all the questions from the beginning of time all the way until Judgment Day. The hourglass is almost empty, so come and hear the dynamic teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, Clarence 13X, and all those warners sent to raise you, the lost but now found sheep in the wilderness of North America. Come listen and question the man of the hour, Shaykh Isa, al-Hadi, al-Mahdi.
Shukran jazeelan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الوالي الكريم وصلى الله على أنبياء أجمعين والمسيح والمهدي والمجدد لمن مرسلين أما بعد. Are we not the bearers of witness that nothing would exist if Allah didn't create it? And that He is alone and has no partners, and that all gratitude is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sustainer of all the boundless universes. All gratitude is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the generous eternal friend, and send salutations of Allah on all of His prophets and His apostles, and on the Messiah, the anointed one, and on the Mahdi, the guide, and on the Mujaddid, the reformer, which was all sent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send greetings and we send peace throughout the boundless universe to all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
And now, the true light, featuring Shaykh Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi.
Assalamu alaikum. Being an ex-follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I would like to know, was my brother a true Muslim, or the teachings that he was being taught, were they tampered with?
Here's the reality of it. When you and I say true Muslim, we got to be very careful that we're not using a measuring rod established by some red or pale Arab from Saudi or Egypt, you follow, as to what a Muslim is. Because that's what they're doing. See, when a so-called Sunni Muslim makes this measuring rod, he uses the word mainstream Islam. Ansars are not in mainstream Islam. Farrakhan is not in mainstream Islam. By mainstream Islam, they mean that me and Minister Louis Farrakhan did not allow anyone to come in and inject their thoughts directly into my mainstream and go directly to my head without question or doubt or reason. These Sunni Muslims are American Negroes converting to a religion being given to them by red Arabs, and they don't have the right to even question it because the Quran says the scripture has no doubts in it. So if they have anything that they question, for instance, I want to ask you a question. Do you pray?
Indeed.
Ask a Sunni Muslim, does he pray in the direction of the black stone? He'll say yes. That's idol worship.
Indeed.
Then he might say, well, I don't worship it. Then say, that's adoration. And that's salutation. And the word for salutation in the Quran is salli, which is the word salat. You follow? So they do worship the black stone, which is not black, by the way, but brown. So in the Arabic language, when Allah calls it in the Quran, Hajwatul Aswad, The black stone, he's really referring to something brown. So again, when a Sunni Muslim says, well, you're not really black, you're brown, he's making a mistake. Because according to Allah, the color black is brown if he calls a black stone, which is in actuality a brown stone, because I've seen it with my own eyes in Mecca, black. Allah's idea of black is brown. And then the color for brown in Arabic, bunni, comes from the word bana, meaning my children. You see, in Arabic. Indeed. You see the trick? So now the point I'm trying to make is, when they ask, is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or was the late Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a kufr as Bilal Phillips and Siraj Wahaj and other brainwashed Orthodox Sunni Muslims put it, what they're not doing is they're not consulting the Quran for the definition of Muslim. You know what they're doing? They're consulting the Hadith and the interpretations of men. Let's consult the words of Allah for Muslims and see what it is by the Quran, and we'll find it in Surah Al-Baqarah. Now, Surah Al-Baqarah is known to be what chapter of the Holy Quran? Chapter 2. The second chapter of the Holy Quran, and it's the largest chapter in the Holy Quran, right? Let's see what this Surah Al-Baqarah has to say about what a Muslim is. Then we're no longer dealing with men, we're dealing with Allah. Alright? The name Surah Al-Baqarah comes from the word the heifer. That's the first thing. And this is what he says about a Muslim. Bismillahi ar-Rahmani ar-Rahim. Begin all things with the illustrious name of Allah, the Yielder, the most merciful. Alif, Lam, Mim. Adam, Laylatul Qadri, Muhammad. That's what these letters symbolize. From Adam, the night of power when all the scriptures came down to the prophet, and Mim, Muhammad. Alif, Lam, Mim. And he starts into the chapter. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This text has no doubt in it. It is a guidance to those who are taqwa, who have fear and tremble at the words of Allah. Whether they are the Torah or the Injil or whatever book, they fear the Almighty's word. Now what does it say? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. The third verse. Those who are faithful by way of the unseen, right? And they exalt prayer, and of the things we provided them with, they offer freely. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he didn't interpret him as just a man the way people say. That's not what's happening on Article 12 on the back of any Muhammad speaks. On the back of any Muhammad speaks, under Section 12, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to Master Farad Muhammad as the Mahdi and the Messiah. Correct?
Indeed.
Then he said Allah came in the personage of. Allah himself says in the Quran, I breathed into man of my soul, Ruhi, and man became, al-insan sara what? A living being. So every man has the personage of Allah in him, insofar as the breath of life that came from Allah is inside every man. The men who are most learned in al-Islam, they call Mawlana, having its root word in Alama, one of Allah's names, Al-Alim, the knowing. You understand what I'm saying? So every man that is endowed with a certain amount of knowledge, who's called Mawlana or Mu'allim, has taken a portion of Allah's name, Al-Alim. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad never implied that Master Farad Muhammad was the unseen creator. Here's what he says. Who is Allah? Right? The Asiatic black man, maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe. So what he was saying is, because Allah had put his spirit into every black man, all black men were God. That's throughout his writings, and it's very clear. and that one from amongst them was a supreme being. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stressed that being, like the dictionary, meant a mortal or physical thing. He called Farad a supreme being, meant that he was the most intelligent being that he had ever met. That's how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put it. Now, however, the Orthodox Muslims want to mistranslate it and slander and alter it. That's their prerogative. But if you read the message to the black man and the writing of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's not what he said. He called him the Mahdi and the Messiah. And there are Muslims all over the world, in different parts of the world, that have declared men the Mahdi and have declared men the Messiah. The Saudi Arabians, on the other hand, the Wahhabi sect that are now buying out everybody, haven't had their Messiah yet, or their Mahdi, so as far as they're concerned, they are the only ones that are right and they're mainstream. And anybody who does not go along with their interpretations of Islam has to be kufr or Satan or some other name that the Sunnis belt out against other black leaders, almost always black leaders, because when Ahmed Didat from South Africa, an Indian brother, did a whole thing, a whole book and live video on the number 19 that he extracted from Rashad Khalifa, an Egyptian brother, all the Sunnis was with him. Then a couple of Saudi Arabians came up and said the number 19 is not authentic, but they didn't never debate against it, they just said it. Never has an Arab who speaks Arabic debated against the number 19. Bilal Phillips did it, some Canadian Negro. Pakistanians are doing it. No Egyptian has ever went up against him whose native tongue is Arabic. No Sudanese has ever went up against it whose native tongue is Arabic. No Saudian has ever went up whose native tongue is Arabic. It's always converts to Islam who are versing the number 19. But this man, Ahmed Didat, who the Sunnis are now exulting because of his videotapes of arguing with Jimmy Swagger and etc., he supported the number 19, and now he retracts that as if it never happened. He is a part of mainstream Islam. You see what I'm saying? They select what mainstream means, and they select what's right and what's wrong. The point I'm trying to make by this verse is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did believe in an unseen deity. But when he spoke about Master Prophet Muhammad, he was giving him a Christ-like image, and like a Christian would, the Christ-like image is God incarnate. Muslims pretend they disagree with this until you enter into the covers of the Quran and investigate the life of Jesus compared to any other prophet. Is any other prophet in the Quran called Al-Masih, the Messiah? Yes or no?
Yes.
Who?
You should,
Israel?
indeed.
And then they say that the Jews call Israel a Messiah, not Allah. Nowhere in the Torah or Al-Injil or Zabur will you ever find the prophet Israel being called a Messiah by the Jews. Nowhere. It's not there. You follow that?
I follow.
Next, Allah called Jesus Al-Masih in the Quran, the Messiah, son of Mary. Now, being the word Al-Masih, according to Orthodox Sunni Muslims, existed in the Torah before the Quran. And because they're not smart enough to know that Arabic and Syriac is the same language, they think the Torah was Hebrew and the Quran is Arabic. We have to go back to the Torah language that they believe in, which is Hebrew, for the definition of Messiah, which is in Hebrew Al-Mashiach, an anointed being, a supernatural being. You follow that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does know the definition. Now, Allah refers to Jesus in the Quran as Ruhu. He gave him a Ruhi. He says, Ruhi. I strengthened him with Ruhi, my soul. Jesus' special name in Al-Islam is Ruhu Allah, Allah's soul. Muhammad is never called that. It says, and in Islam they support their hadith, that Rasulullah died. He died at a certain age, and they have his remains in the city of Medina, in a tomb that Sunni Muslims go to and make a dua to Muhammad during Hajj, which that cannot be found in the Quran, by the way. They innovated that into it, but they do it anyway. So, Muhammad's remains is on earth. The Quran tells us that Allah took Rafa'ah. Took Jesus what? Rafa'ahu ilayhi. Up to himself. The Quran further says, don't say people who die in my path are dead, they live on. So according to that Quran, Jesus, son of Mary, is still alive with Allah in heaven. It doesn't say that about Muhammad. You see what I'm saying?
I follow.
So their idea of mainstream Islam is innovations of hadith and traditions of men, fabricated stories that can't be substantiated by the text of the Quran, but can be backed up further by other hadith. For instance, they say, well, any Muslim knows that the Prophet Muhammad said the two things that Allah left was the Quran and his Sunnah. Yeah, they throw it at you. But you don't never stop to say, wait a minute, is that in the Quran like that? No, that in itself is a hadith. So they're actually using a hadith to support a hadith. And they turn at you, an Ansar, and say, the writings of Muhammad says that he left two things, the Quran and the Sunnah. I don't deny that he might have said that, but that is a hadith supporting a hadith. When are they going to realize the words of Allah are more important than the words of men? So, as far as Honorable Elijah Muhammad believing in Master Prophet Muhammad as being a spirit God, or being likened to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the boundless universe, nowhere in his doctrine does he say that. Who is the original man, Asiatic black man, maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe. All of those things are physical things. And that we are, because Allah said in the Quran that he created me and you as Khalifa fil Arda, as his successor on the earth, the caretaker of the earth. So we are the maker, the owner. We are not the creator. Allah is al-Khaliqu. But we do make things from things he created. We do own the planet because he gave it to us. We are the cream of the planet because we're the original black people. We are the father of civilization because we had civilizations in ancient Nubia while the white man was up in the mountains eating flesh raw and crawling on all fours. And his half-breed Arab brothers was with him in their blood.
So then we are gods.
We are God. Didn't it say in the books of Psalms, didn't he say, did I not say you are God? You just not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not Allah, but you're a God compared to every other being on earth. Compared to every other race of people on earth. You are a God, but you're not Allah. You see, that's where people make their mistake. There's a difference between God and Allah. Allah cannot be turned into a female. Gods can have goddesses.
Indeed.
Allah wahdahu la sharika lahu has no partners. So when they say la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, they've just binded partners with Allah. Whenever you say Allah, he's alone. Wahdahu la sharika lahu. Then if you want to say, wa and Muhammad is his apostle, you can. But you don't do it. Otherwise, you're shirk. You're guilty of binding partners. Think about it before you respond. Now he goes on to another verse and says, this person upkeeps prayer. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught his followers to pray. Yes or no? They may not have agreed with the way the mainstream of Islam, Orthodox Sunni Muslim, got their interpretation out of hadith to do it. But according to the Quran, 90% of the things that Sunni Muslims are doing in their prayer are not in the Quran. Ask the Sunni Muslim to show you anywhere in the Quran where Allah says, stick your finger in your ear 3 times. Ask the Sunni Muslim anywhere in the Quran to show you where Allah says, stick your finger up in tashahhud and go at tahiyatu. Ask him to show you these things. He can show you bowing in the Quran. He can show you prostration in the Quran. He can show you wudu in the Quran. But he cannot show you a lot of little things. Ask him to show you anywhere in the Quran where it says Allah said, turn your head to the right and speak to one angel, and turn your head to the left and speak to another angel. They're so ridiculous about these traditions. You know what they say about the pictures on the wall? Angels will not go into a house where there are pictures or dogs. Is that correct? Is that not what the Sunnis teach?
Yes, they do.
Do you realize that when Siraj, Wahaj, and them got arrested and had to go into the court building with all them pictures, their angels got lost in Manhattan? Because when they got taken into the court building where there's nothing but images and idols, their angels had to stay outside on the steps of the court building because they don't enter in there, these fools believe. What ridiculousness. What stupidity to teach children. And I'm not going to teach that garbage to my children so they can start believing in Batman and Superman. When the white man introduces more fiction and fantasy, it makes us gobble it up. Truth is truth. I'm going to teach what the Quran says and not what a bunch of men have created because they don't want to recognize the return of the Messiah Jesus as the Savior to the world, so they fabricate a bunch of garbage so that they can create their own religion. Sunni Muslims better wake up and accept the fact that the Quran is saying that Jesus is coming as a sign of the end of the world, and that the hadith they believe in says that Jesus will descend in a physical form at the end of the world. They're trying to evade that. Those are devils who stepped in after the Prophet Muhammad and changed his religion because he followed Millah Ibrahim al-Hanifan. He followed the religion of Abraham in the Holy Quran, the 2nd chapter, the 130th verse. They have changed it and fabricated a whole new religion, call it Sunniism, Shiaism, and basically Mohammedism, which they'll deny. They worship the black stone, they kiss it, they worship the Kaaba, and the most stupid thing about a black man following that stupidity is they teach them that the black stone came down from heaven white. And when men kissed it, it turned black. Am I right?
Indeed.
That's what they teach. If they teach me, a black man, Sudanese, that the black stone was once white and is black because of sin, he's trying to tell me I represent sin. And any black man that sits there and listens to that has to be crazy. Am I right? Then they tell me that the black stone was brought down from heaven by an angel. And I asked him, are there rocks in heaven? Angels are carrying rocks, so the angels are physical. Then they tell me that the devil can't be physical, yet they go to Mecca and pick up 21 stones and throw them at 3 different rocks, 7 apiece. And those rocks are supposed to represent Satan. He can't come in a physical form, but he can be a rock. 3 rock pillars in Mecca. 3 Satans. That's their own trinity. I will not teach that garbage to my sons and daughters. I will not teach that garbage to your sons and daughters. You understand what I'm saying?
Indeed.
And if the Sunni Muslims want to believe that stuff and thus say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Imam Isa or Noble Drew Ali or any of us are not mainstream Islam, I am not injecting white supremacy into my veins or into the veins of my son, which is mainstreaming. You understand? So when them Arabs are telling them to be in mainstream Islam, they're talking about boosting a bunch of poison right to your brain. And one of them poisonous thoughts is that the black stone is black because some sins are in it, which means sin is black and you're synonymous with that. Or I ask them all the time, and I tell you to ask them, name 3 red or pale Arabs you know named Bilal. Why don't they name their kids Bilal? Why do they avoid Bilal's name? They name him everything but Bilal. Why? Because whenever they talk about Bilal, they call him a black Ethiopian slave. Even though he has been out of slavery, according to them, by Abu Bakr Siddiq, Aisha's father brought him into his freedom. Whenever Orthodox Sunni Muslims talk about him, they still refer to him as an Ethiopian slave. And then got the nerve to tell me that they're not racist. And call me a racist because I say Adam was created of black mud. That's racism. Because Allah made us from a single male and female. Yeah, but what color was that single male and female? Because somebody's going to get cheated out of this conversation. Because if you say Allah created us from a single male and female, that's 2 people. Yes?
That's right.
Now, how many races do y'all identify? Black, brown, red, yellow, and black. So which 2 are in this? Which 2 are the single male and female? Are they 2 black? Are they black and white? Are they black and brown? Are they black and red? Are they yellow and white? Which 2 is he talking about? Or are they both of the same race? And they both were created from the same source. What was it called? Talk to me. It was called Ham and Sasalin, black mud in the Quran. And that includes Latinos, Cubans, Dominicans, Panamanians, Japanese, Malaysian, Indonesian, Vietnamese. All of us are one black family. He may have got into our blood and messed around a little bit here, but ain't nobody in this country as nappy as your hair and as dark as you think you are. You ain't no blacker than any Latino brother you meet on the street. Is that true or is that true?
Indeed.
But as one family, we're powerful. Divided, we're nothing. And I will not let them divide me from Minister Louis Farrakhan and stick me under the umbrella of some multi-billionaire Arab so he can poison my soul. Because my belief is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his Quran first. And I accept all of his prophets. And I will not put Muhammad above any prophet of Allah for nobody. Only Allah. You hear me?
Indeed.
So concerning the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he did tell his followers to pray.
Yes, indeed.
He did not teach that Master Prophet Muhammad was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he couldn't speak Arabic, so he didn't understand the definition of Allah. He was giving him a Christian definition of Allah. Came in the personage of. All these American Negroes for all these years believed Jesus was God who came down in the flesh, walked the earth for 3 years, got crucified on the cross, resurrected and said he's coming back, and they're waiting for him. Singing about him, slapping tambourines, having chicken and pork parties. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes and said he came back as Master Prophet Muhammad, walked with me for 3.5 years, left. He said he's coming back. The same story, 3.5 years. White man come, disguised, God in the flesh, to teach people. He left and said he returned for you. All of a sudden you crazy. In other words, what you're trying to say, if the white man gives it to you, you'll believe it. But if a black man gives it to you, you can't. You a bunch of black stallions being led by a white palomino. Y'all better wake up. And then you can't step into a world where there's been racism for all these years and just say, stop saying it. That is not how you do it. You got to replace it with something. Am I right?
Indeed.
Right. You got to come in and say, you said Adam is white, he's black. You said Moses is white, he's black. You say, wait. That's racism. What about what you was doing for 400 years? Don't call me no racist. I'm correcting your mistake. And I'm a racist. But I open the Bible and I can see white pictures of Jesus and Moses and Abraham and everybody else. And history proves that wrong. Is that true or is that true?
It's true.
But when I say it, I got to be a racist. When the white man says it, he's a historian. I don't hate white people. I don't hate nobody. I don't have the time to hate. I have to build. Because they call it race because they started running before we did. That's why it's called racism. Because 100 years ago, he ran and held us back. And now that we're starting to make some leaps and bounds in our life with the Honorable Mayor Dinkins, which I'm proud to say, and you should be too, the Honorable Mayor Dinkins, the late Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
Assalamu alaikum,
and the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King, and all these other great black brothers that are paving the way for the future. Instead of y'all going up against them, you better support them. Get behind your own, because the white man supported Getz whether he was right or wrong. Mm-hmm. Is that true or is that true? True. How long, black man, black woman, are we going to tolerate this abuse? I'm not advocating no revolution. I'm advocating read the Revelations. I'm not telling us to get no guns and try to hurt nobody, because then we'll become as wicked as they are. But know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Wear your red, black, and green, or black, red, and green. Don't get pulled into that Jamaican flag that they're sneaking in on you now. They didn't add a new flag in there. It's red, orange, and something. Jamaican, just like Americans is in slavery, just like you American Negroes. Their flag ain't no better. Marcus Garvey was a Jamaican, and he did not endorse the flag of Ethiopia. He endorsed the red, black, and green flag. Did he not? So don't let them stick in no new flag and get us confused. We were doing pretty good with the black, red, and green flag. Now they got 4 or 5 different colors popping up just to confuse us. You know how that works. Don't fall for that garbage again. Take that fellow, brother, take that off and put on the black, red, and green. We all agree that that's our flag. Because we can all agree that we're black. That you can agree on, can't you?
This thing going on with the Sunnis and the Ansars, with the brother Bilal.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There would be no conflict between the Ansars and the Sunni had they not wrote a book about us. Our focus at the time, and everybody knows and remembers, was on trying to straighten up the lies about Jesus the Messiah. We was writing a series of books about Christianity. I had never written a book specifically geared at attacking the mistakes of Sunni Muslims ever. You follow? I've written multiple books on multiple subjects, but never once have I sat down and said, ask the Sunni Muslim this, ask the Sunni Muslim that. Check into their communities, check into their lifestyle, check into their diets, check into their dress codes. You follow?
Yes.
Or check into someone's personal life, or into their family, or who their kids are, and who their wives or wife is. I never did that. I mean, there's times that I wanted to, but I said the devil, the white man, would love to see 2 black organizations, though they don't consider themselves black. They really don't. They consider themselves Arabs. But they would like to see 2 black people battling. They want to see me and Minister Louis Farrakhan go at it. They won't see that. I won't ever go up against Minister Louis Farrakhan as long as he's trying to do things for black people. They want to see me and Clarence 13X or his followers, the 5%, go at it. They won't see that. That's not the game I play. You follow that?
Yes.
But the moment an Orthodox Sunni Muslim starts trying to pretend he's not African, trying to pretend he's not black because he's found some new love in Saudi Arabia with some red Arabs, then I'm upset. And when they start trying to teach that the Prophet Muhammad was a white man, when everybody knows he was a black man of Sudanese descent, and then they push out pictures all over. See, most Sunni Muslims have never traveled. So they don't know in the white Arab world, they do push pictures of the Prophet Muhammad and on his successors and different men in the Bible as white. You follow? Not to mention they have certain hadith by a man named Bukhari that says the Prophet Muhammad is white. I will not teach that garbage and that stupidity to my children, nor yours. You follow?
Yes,
and if I was going to direct questions at them, here's the kind of questions I would direct at a Sunni Muslim. If they wanted to debate. Do you worship the black stone or not? Yes or no? Of course, they will say they don't worship the black stone. And I will then say, in what direction do you pray 5 times a day? They'll say Mecca. I'll ask them, is the black stone in that direction? They would have to say yes. Then I'll ask them again, do you worship the black stone or not? They again would say no, because we only pray through it. Then I would ask them, well, on pilgrimage to Mecca, do you kiss this black stone that is in the direction of the east in which you pray 5 times a day? They would have to answer yes. I will ask them again, do you worship the black stone? You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
They're not ready for questions like this. Because the bottom line is, if you analyze the Orthodox Sunni faith, they come out people worshiping a black stone. But that's not as drastic as this. Ask one of them, why is the black stone black? And they will tell you, because of the sins of evil people who has kissed it or touched it over the years. They say the angel Gabriel brought the black stone down from heaven and it was white. Now this is what the Orthodox Sunni Muslims teach. And it was a white stone. And because people kissed it, their evils went into it and it turned black. Are y'all following me thus far? Now if you stop at that point and say, excuse me brother, Are you saying that evil and sin is black? Again, the Sunni Muslim will say no. He said, did you say that the black stone was once white? They'll say yes. Did you say that sins of evil people, when kissing and touching it, went into it and turned it black? They'd have to say yes again. And then if you say again, are you saying that sins and evils are black? They'd say no. Do you understand what just happened?
Yeah.
If the black stone turned black because of the sins and the evils of people, ask them, why would y'all drape the Kaaba in a black drape and not a white drape? If black is synonymous with evil, and then any Orthodox Sunni Muslim who is of African descent, with black skin, who digests that rhetoric, and still faces the Kaaba 5 times a day, and goes to Mecca and kisses a black stone when the white Arab is telling them that black is evil, something is wrong with them. You understand? They need help. Because somewhere along the line, someone has them thinking that black is evil, black is sin. Let me do this again, okay? For you to teach that the black stone in Mecca is black because someone kissed it who was evil and their sins went into it and turned it from white to black, is to tell me that black is sin and evil. Are y'all with me? You hear that? No. Now, if I'm a black man, I'm standing in front of the Kaaba, and a black stone, by the way, is not black. It's brown like you. The color of the black stone is brown. I've stood in front of it in Mecca. It's not black like the black of, like the color black. It's brown like the average black person's complexion. For a pale Arab to teach me, a black man with brown skin, that the black stone was turned from white to black because of sins of evil people, you realize what he's telling you about yourself? And then for me to go to Mecca and acknowledge that as a black man, there's got to be something wrong with me. The lights are on, but nobody's home inside my head. You follow? Yes, so the conflict that the Ansarullah community has predominantly with the Sunni Muslims are simple questions like that they don't have answers for. You think you're fighting against me, another man like you, made of mud like you. You follow? Mm-hmm. You think that's who you're wrestling against, and you're not. You're wrestling against a higher force. The pen that writes the books for y'all is not me. I, like I say in all the books, of my own accord could not do this. You know what's so funny? Again, Orthodox Sunni Muslims say, oh, I know Imam Isa when he first took his Shahada in State Street. That's one of the things they say. I remember him before he was a Muslim, etc. They got a whole bunch of this rhetoric. And then they don't look at the book and say, well, if this man took his Shahada then, that's the first time he was exposed to Islam, how did he manage to accumulate all of this information in that little bit of time? When they can't. None of their imams can. Their best can't. You follow? The point is, I am nothing but a piece of mud. The message that's coming to you people is coming through me, not from me. I am oftentimes shocked by the books myself when I proofread them. And the information that flows and how it matches up and the predictions that come true. Like I said, last year they had an argument. And the funny thing about it, the book was finished before the California earthquake. The California earthquake had been predicted years before it happened, right? When I finished the book, I said, as far as the earthquake in California, it has not happened as of yet. If you read that in the rebuttal book. Now, it has happened twice since then. You follow?
Yes.
Now, I couldn't have made the earthquake in California myself. There's no way in the world I could have caused an earthquake in California to happen twice. All I can do is tell you what is coming through me as the true light of Allah. When I say as, I'm not saying I am the true light of Allah. Don't misinterpret me. I'm saying my pen is guided by the masters, the elders. Because some American Negro or Jamaican-born Muslim has not had the experience of being filled with the Holy Ghost, Ruhu Qudus, as it would be in Lughat al-Arabiya, being filled with that holy soul, They have not been touched by anything divine speaking through them. Thus, everybody who says they were has to be crazy. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he saw the mothership. He spoke to the elders. The Orthodox Sunni Muslims say he's crazy because they didn't have the experience. Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple, said the same thing. They say he's crazy. Right? Again, it happens. I say, I've seen the mothership, been upon it, a member of the circle of the elders, and the divine is sending messages to you through me. Not me. I'm not doing it. You understand? Let me repeat that. I am not doing it. It's coming through me to you. I have to be crazy. Now, I say, if I came out of the university in Cairo, Egypt, and I was white with blue eyes and a blonde beard and a brown jalabia, which they call a juba, just so they don't want to follow the Quran, you follow? And a multicolored tagia, and then said it, I believe that the Sunni Muslims would believe it. You know why I say that? Because there was a mosque called Darul Islam here, a movement on Herkimer Street, 52 to be exact. And when we were propagating our doctrine here, they said I was crazy. Don't listen to him. You Ansars are worshiping Imam Isa. Don't do this. Then out of Afghanistan by way of Pakistan pops up a man called Sheikh Jalani, who came in and said he was the Mahdi, that he was a Sufi with spiritual light, and broke Darul Islam up, dissolved them into Taqwa, Iqwa, Masjid, Mu'min, then went on back to Afghanistan. Because he was a light-skinned Arab, these same Sunnis who say Ansars worship Imam Isa was wrong, dropped everything and became his followers, and moved from Herkimer over to Livonia inside of a post office and set up their community there. You understand what I'm trying to reach?
Yes.
That's where we have our differences. Allah says, I bestow knowledge upon whom I please. And for them to say that he has not given it to me because I don't fit the color barriers of which they want to worship is their problem. Anybody who reads the books have to say, I know doggone well this man ain't writing all this stuff. If you take the time to read all of the Ansar doctrine, a new book came out yesterday, Are Pictures of Sin? Why am I putting this out? Because the Sunni Muslims cannot show you anywhere in the Quran where it says you cannot have pictures. They will jump to Hadith or try to use Exodus on you, of which they say they don't believe. The book of Exodus is tampered with, but when it comes to certain points like circumcision, which is not found in the Quran by word, they will jump over to the Torah or Abraham. You follow? So I put a book out to say you should have a picture of your mother. You should have a picture of your father up in your house to show to your children. That's your lineage. That's your family. You should be proud to show them who their grandparents are. And if they say that's a sin, say, I'm not showing them their mother nor their father because I think that they are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a sin to have pictures and say that it is the Creator. It's a sin to say that that picture is for them. I'm using the word God. You can't take a picture out and say this picture is Allah. That's a sin. But you can have a picture of anybody else, prophet or angel, as long as you're not saying it's Allah and you're not putting up for worship. Otherwise, every time the Muslims travel to Mecca by the millions on pilgrimage, you understand?
Yes.
The Muslims that are behind the customs office receiving their passports, as they look at their pictures, they're all sinning. If it's that silly and that stupid to think that just to have a picture of yourself on the wall in your house, or a picture of your mother, or a picture of your father, or your grandfather, or the Mahdi, or Elijah Muhammad, or Master Farad Muhammad, or Clarence 13X, or Noble Drew Ali, is a sin. For you to do that in your house is a sin. Is because these men are so afraid that they're going to go into mortal worship. That's why they say don't have a picture of the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad is not Allah to me. I have no intentions of worshiping him. So thus I can put his picture on the wall and point at his picture to my son and say, see that man Muhammad? That's the one who brought the Quran. He is one of the better examples for us here that Allah sent. But the moment I put his picture up and say that he is Allah, then I have committed a major sin. Do you understand?
Yes.
This is why the book, Our Pictures of Sin, is necessary. The book the brother's passing out to y'all is a rebuttal book written to answer questions of doubt because the Sunnis, who have nothing else to do, spend time slandering the Ansar Allah.
That's my brother, yeah. Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
And I wrote a book answering it so that you will have all the questions answered.
Okay.
But, let me add, but they do need to grow up and realize that black Christians, black Jews, black or Israelites, the nation of Islam, 5%ers nation, the gods and the goddesses, the Zulu nation, are all one family. And they have a habit of quoting a section from the Quran where they say, Allah has created you into tribes and families that you may know about one another. And the best amongst you is he who's the most righteous or the most noble. In actuality, Muslims have to learn to respect black Christians, black Jews. You have to learn to respect your brother first. Then you can think about trying to convince him that what you think is right, but you can't start off by standing up and saying Minister Louis Farrakhan is a disbeliever because he doesn't believe in the same traditions as some specific group of Orthodox Sunnis, or that Warith Muhammad is a disbeliever because he doesn't do such and such and such and such. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
These are black leaders. If Warith Muhammad has aligned himself up with white leadership, which he has, called Darul Ifta, if Siraj Wahaj have lined himself up with those white leadership, which he has, and if Bilal Phillips, these are all black men, have lined themselves up with the same organization in Saudi Arabia, but has not paid attention to what is happening to our brothers in South Africa, or not paying attention what happened to our brothers in Ethiopia, or to our brothers and sisters right here in America, how they're being abused. They're trying to put on dark glasses and pretend they don't see the racism that's going on. I want nothing to do with those kind of people. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
And I suggest it. I suggest we unite and come together. Them Sunnis into another whole bag of supporting pale Arabs who got billions of dollars and won't do nothing for South Africa. Won't try to liberate our people, won't try to stop us from starving. Don't even build them a mosque right there on Bedford and Fulton. They won't even build them a mosque. These guys got signs up begging for funds when they told us we're not supposed to beg. They said for years, Ansars are beggars. They're beggars. In Islam, you don't beg. Go down right now, Fulton and Bedford, and look up, you see a sign. What's the difference between beg and donation? Both donation and beg mean beg. Yes or no? Now all of a sudden they're begging. They should have begged when we were begging. Then they wouldn't have to beg. They'd have some books out. But they got these multi-billionaires like Adnan Khashoggi and them chasing around white women in America and sponsoring movies and stuff in America, but won't build schools or masjids or playgrounds or medical centers or anything like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was trying to do, or banks or anything. Everything they're doing is strictly for pale Arabs. And now we got black brothers telling me and you we should follow them and not respect Minister Louis Farrakhan, or not respect Clarence 13X, or not respect Noble Drew Ali. I'm not going that way. Not again, brother. It's too late in time. We saw what they did to Malcolm X. They waited for him to turn against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, then killed him and tried to make it look like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did it.
Can a devil fool a Muslim?
Not nowadays,
right.
Except Muslims who don't know no better.
Okay.
Don't forget, there's a whole lot of Muslims that out there that's being fooled because Siraj Wahaj and them are being fooled by the devil. Then the Prophet Muhammad said that a lot of his followers are going to go over and follow Dajjal, or Dibd Messiah, which refers to in Arabic as the Antichrist. Now, most Muslims are thinking they're talking about Christians, when in actuality, they're not. Because he mentions in the same hadith that they believe in, that this Dajjal is going to have the sign of Kaf on his forehead, the letter Kaf from the Arabic language. The letter Kaf is symbolic of the word kufr or kafiruna which means those who conceal what they know to be true. Which means, he says, again, some of his followers, meaning Muslims, are going to go over and worship and follow the Antichrist, who he says will rise up out of Arabia. In that same hadith. You see? Now what has happened is, the oil wealth of Saudi, instead of it being used for the dawah, to spread the truth around the world, it's being used to build hotels. It's being used to invest in America and raise the economy and the power here, which is giving the Christian world more power. You follow that? So the Saudi Arabians are the Dajjal that the Muslims are supposed to look for.